Hey HBs, we're here for Heaving Bosom's Ask a Badass, where we spotlight readers and lovers of romance every week to show the world the awesome multitudes you contain. Make sure to join us on Monday, December 16th for a special episode. Podcast fave Tiffany Reisz joined me to recap Mary Balogh's A Christmas Promise, and we had oodles of fun. She continued her lifelong tradition of being an absolute treasure and delight, and even managed to deliver us some excellent hate fucking. Seriously, we don't know how she does it. And now, we have Clippy herself, Ann C. That's right, you get to hear from the personage that Aaron and I are always shouting at when we don't know facts. She pulled off her green accountant's visor, came out from behind her lawyer lamp and typewriter, climbed her mountains of books in the most beautiful evening wear, and delivered herself in all of her ink-smudged glory just for you. Here we go. Hey, Anne.
Hello, Natalie.
How are you doing?
I am doing excellent. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I am wearing pajamas.
Oh.
I'm sitting with a warm blanket on my body because it is now fall, very short fall season here in Illinois, becoming winter, closer every day. It's not that I'm not prepared. I'm a cold weather person, but I need supplies, pajamas, warm blankets, slippers.
Need to get all like bundled up and then you're ready for the weather.
So for those of you that don't know, I'm talking with Ann C.
Hello.
She wears many hats in the cult. Usually most of them involve fact checking.
I'm your ombudsman. Thank you.
She'll just give you a gentle nudge and be like, did you mean this word when you said that word? In the nicest way ever. You've never ever been like condescending or a know-it-all. You're always just so helpful. It's amazing.
One of my greatest fears. I never ever want to be condescending because I have learned so much from so many people who have always felt like they aren't the smartest person in the room. And I know I'm a smart person. I know a lot. But it's always important to listen and learn from other people and pretty much let yourself be humbled by someone who doesn't think they are as smart as you. And let them know that, no, really, you're a lot smarter than you think. And there's a lot of different kinds of intelligence. And so I really, really try to focus on not coming off as a show-off or know-it-all because I don't want anyone to ever feel like they can't contribute.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you never come off that way ever.
Oh,
so
good.
Hey, I mean, that goal achieved. I don't know about any of this. I used to think I was very smart, and then in my current job I have to count money in front of other human beings often.
Oh no.
Which is my nightmare. And I have to do things with money and numbers, and I accidentally charged someone $410 the other day instead of $41. It's my biggest shame. It overdrafted her debit account, and I just was like horrified. And I reversed it right away, but like the damage had already been done, and I was just horrified.
You're just like,
because
this is a nightmare.
This is a nightmare. Are not my strong suit. I am a people person, and that is basically where my strengths end.
It's a very, very good strength. Not everyone can be a numbers person. You can't all numbers. I
know. I just need a numbers person to just like walk around with me all the time, though. Just a human calculator. Oh, you need to make change? My numbers person will take care of that for you. Here, please pass your money to this other individual who is capable of doing things like that.
That's the funny thing. I totally thought growing up, because my dad is an engineer and he's a very, very, very smart dude. And he's an aerospace engineer. He works with satellites and rockets. Yeah. This is his passion, apparently, since he was a child. But I always thought, oh, he's the numbers guy. If I need help with my math homework, go to my dad, who does math every day. Of course he'll explain it. But The problem with learning about math and learning math from someone who loves math, like legitimately loves it, thinks it's the most exciting thing to ever happen since sliced bread.
Yeah.
They want to teach you all the shortcuts, all the tricks, all the fun things you can do with math.
But I just need to do this one thing.
Yes, exactly. So you're like, hey, Dad, it's like 6:00 in the evening. Can you help me with my math homework? 4 hours later.
Yeah,
Dad,
exactly.
we haven't finished problem 1. He's like, no, but I need to teach you this one really cool trick. And as soon as you learn this, you can learn this other trick. And it's like, please, Dad, no.
But I just need to go to sleep. My dad, he's not an engineer he just is good at math and can do it in his head. But so then like him explaining why something is the way it is, that does not. He's like, oh, well, you just do that. Okay. But for just pretend like I can't do that. Like if I couldn't do that, how would you do that? It's like,
so imagine that I just really don't get this.
Imagine I needed to show my work on a paper. Imagine.
Like, how do I get to
how would
point
I
A?
show my work?
Yeah, how do I go from A to B showing every step? And they're like, you just go to B. And it's like, no.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you a math, Anne? Do you do math things?
I do not math.
Yeah. You're a history, though. Like, you like history and knowledge and other things that aren't math, though.
Yes, history, English, really weird pop culture stuff.
Yeah. You do fencing and stuff like that. Like, you're like a Renaissance woman. You know a lot of different things, and you're good at a lot of different things, right?
I don't know, good is very difficult to say, but I'm very passionate about things. I like learning about new things. History.
Do you find a new topic and then you just sink yourself into it and you just come up gasping for air 3 days later? Like, what happened?
Do you have a camera in my house? Yeah. I joked one time about this intersects lovely with another passion of mine, which is fan fiction. But yes. I was writing a fanfic and I went down this tunnel of research in which I was just looking up lace making and how to throw lace and what kind of lace is lace. That was it.
Yeah.
And
although I think a lot of authors do that, especially Regency authors and things like that, or when you want to get facts correct, you want to make sure you see this fact and you're like, well, I need to make sure that that's a fact, so I need to look up another source for that fact, and then 6 sources later, and here's another fact, and now I need to verify. So you read a lot, but you read a lot of romance too, right?
Oh, yes.
What was your gateway drug to romance?
Well, the wheel weaves as it wills, as I have heard. And I don't know, call it fate, call it destiny, call it somebody forgot their book backstage at the high school theater.
It was the book trying to find you, Anne. Let's all be honest.
Yeah, I was backstage and I found this romance book, and it actually was supposed to be in English teacher's bookshelf, because she had a whole collection of books, and I knew who the teacher was. And so I was like, oh yeah, I'll just grab this book and I'll be sure to put it back in because I have her class at some point.
But while I have it,
I picked it up. But while I have it and I have a few, minutes, I'll just flip through it. And it was Nora Roberts' Jewels of the Sun.
So many gateways have started with Nora Roberts is what I'm finding. Isn't that crazy? There's at least 3 interviews that I've done so far where that's out of 10 interviews is 3 of them, their first book was a Nora Roberts book. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I mean, she's prolific.
There's a lot going on there.
But it's there are so many little charming things about this book that I even though it's pretty dated and everything, I always return to it. And I'm like, oh, Jewels of the Sun, you were so good.
I look back sometimes at some of the first romances that because when I really dug deep into romance, I was reading on Kindle, and so a lot of those first mostly free books that I just pilfered from different places are just the worst. books. I mean, they got the job done. I read them. They led me to other books. They served their purpose, but there were some stinkers in there. So it's nice that you could return to this one and at least still have some enjoyment of it.
Yeah, it's Nora Roberts is very skilled at putting you in a scene, putting you in a character. And I'll always be very fond of that. So Jewels of the Sun, Nora Roberts, if you want to read a book, that's one that's what I started with. And I never looked back.
So you read a lot of everything, right? Or are you mostly a romance reader?
I read a lot of everything. I'm currently going through the Wheel of Time series, which has been a chunk.
Based on, because you've talked about it a little bit, and your descriptions have not, I'm sorry, made me want to read them.
Oh, that's okay.
Because basically everyone's like, yeah, it's long.
Oh, I mean, I can't lie to you. It's long, and they get longer.
No. But, I mean, I'm over here reading Mariana Zapata books, so I can't really talk, but like...
they get longer than
I know. So I'm like tapped out, man.
My big goal is that I want to finish this series
before the show comes out, right?
Yep, before the Amazon Prime show comes out.
I think we had talked about some of the castings that they had done for that, and you were pretty happy about them, right?
Yeah, because I really like diverse casting. Because it's like, I'm not going to be mad about, well, I'm going to be a little mad and steamy, but it's kind of I get it. Bumblebeard Cucumber Patch he's a fantastic actor. He has a great voice. Yes. Okay, fine. Eddie Redmayne, all these guys who have like a ton of fame have a huge backlog. They're very talented. Yeah. And I don't want to like take that away from them, but I want to see new talent. I want to see someone other than white British dude.
Or white British lady, or, whatever. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
And essentially, they cast Rosamund Pike as Moraine, Lady Gandalf.
Which I love her. She was, for those, this is a reference I know because she was in Pride and Prejudice. She was also in James Bond. Which one? She was in a James Bond, wasn't she?
Mm-hmm. I think so. I'm really just excited for her to be in there because she's like essentially one of the more famous people on this. And I think her casting is perfect. Yeah. And so far, I've been looking at all the other ones. I'm like, yep. I'm good with this. Yep. I can see it. Okay, I'm good. Let's go.
Well, it's kind of funny because I feel like that casting release came out shortly after the Bridgerton casting release. And so there was just a bunch of crybabies about diversity all over the place. In romance world and like in the, what would the Wheel of Time world be considered? Science fiction, fantasy.
Science fiction, fantasy.
Yeah, but I feel like there was a lot of crybabies about both of those diversity castings, right?
Yeah, I mean, I saw a lot of people who were like kind of like peeved, but then I saw a lot of people who were just excited that it was being made.
Absolutely, like, because something people have been looking forward to for a while. I think that in the romance world, people are really excited about the Bridgerton series being made too, because it's like a very big romance win, I feel.
Series.
Yeah, like, and it's like it's going fairly mainstream, which is kind of cool. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's a monolith.
I haven't read any of those. I gotta get on it.
I haven't either, so
maybe we should read them together. You would probably go way faster than me. But yeah, I feel like I should at least read a few because I'm gonna want to watch the show. I also want to watch The Witcher on Netflix too, which I don't think that's come out yet, has it?
No, not yet. If it had, I would know. I have friends who played the Witcher video games, and they would tell me all about it.
I just have a lot of strong feelings about Henry Cavill, so I feel like that might be my reason that I'm interested. But it is also very Lord of the Ringsy, in the way that it's.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantasy.
There's
adventure.
A guy with long white hair. It's basically the same, so I'm probably gonna love it.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. speaking of Lord of the Rings, I have a question.
You have a question for me? Okay, go for it.
Yes, for Lord of the Rings. Out of all the characters that you know of in Lord of the Rings, who is your bae? Who is your husbando, waifu, whatever?
I'm gonna get a name wrong right now. It's the guy who basically like is made of trees. What's his face?
Tom Bombadil?
Tom Bombadil's my bae.
See, my theory is that there are no wrong answers to this question because you can make an argument for anyone. Mine's Éomer, which kind of standard. Lots of good feelings about him. So that was a very book answer. Tom Bombadil was one of the characters that I was very, very sad was not in the movies. You're like, I understand time constraints, pacing. I understand.
You got to make a romance in there where there wasn't really that much romance. You got to do some stuff. I want to get really wasted in the woods. I had a lot of strong, Legolas feelings. I had a lot of strong, Éomer was up there. That was he is gonna kill them orcs, and he loves his sister very much. Exactly. And he's a hot head. He's hot. And that always helps. I mean, if you're played by Carl Urban, that's like 10 points. It's always so sad when I see him in movies and he doesn't have long hair. I'm like, but come on.
But I want to run my hands through your hair. But if you think about it, like sometimes I get caught up in this. That hair had to be so gross. Just like in real life. Yeah. You wouldn't be able to run your fingers through it. It would smell like horses and sweat. It would be basically dreadlocks. Constantly. You'd have to really, really maintain. You'd have to really be interested in having sex with him to want to have sex with him. Like all the armor, it's so much work to even get to the business. But also the reward at the end. True. Very true. But I think a movie Gimli is one of my favorite parts. Like he just did such a great job with all of the one-liners. Reisz Davies. Yes. Anyway, what are we talking about again? You're reading Wheel of Time. There it is. Yes, and it's fascinating. It's amazing. I have so much more to go, and I love all the characters, and I'm very excited for the show. When does it come out? Oh, God, I don't know. Pretty sure sometime next year. And then how many, are you on the last book? No, I am on book 4 right now. 15? Out of 14. Oh, God, Anne. And you're trying to finish them all? I can do this. Yep. Oh, jeez. I have encouragement. Are you allowed to read other things? Friends. Okay. Oh, yes. Okay. Absolutely. I was like, oh, man. I make sure to split up my reading. You know, it's like Wheel of Time, romance. Do you read more than one book at a time? Because I can't, and I'm always curious as to how it works for people. If I do, I try to make it as different as possible, so that way I don't get things confused. So I don't mix my fantasy with my fantasy or sci-fi with sci-fi. I go with, all right, here's my hardcore fantasy, and here's something very grounded in the real world. I'm going to read about the history of the Al-Andalusian Empire. Yeah. And I'm going to read about Granada, Spain. Yeah. That's the sort of thing I will try to do, so that way I don't get things mixed up. So how did you find the podcast after being a romance reader forever? And I was just looking around, and I thought, I like books. I like listening to people talk about books, recommend books, and I like romance. Why not look for romance podcasts? And I was like, I'm just going to try out a bunch of different ones and see which one I like. And I found Heaving Bosoms. They were 8 episodes in. And I started with episode 1. This was before episode 1 got taken down. So I started just listening, and I loved the banter, the chemistry, just kind of a sense of irreverency, where it's look, we're not professionals, but we're going to talk about this and things that we love and things that we hate, and just really talk. And I was like, this is really relaxing. I could just relax and listen to people be really passionate about something. And so I just started listening and I didn't stop.
Yeah, that's kind of, I think, once I think everyone kind of starts listening, if they aren't like, I know that Aaron referenced like the people that were there for the Sarah J. Maas books, that they are like not interested in hanging around for the long shot because they're just interested in the one thing. But if anyone ever like attaches to the banter, they're sucked in, right? Because that's really what the podcast is all about. It's the chemistry between the two people. How do you feel about being on a completely unprofessional podcast right now?
I'm having a lot of fun, actually. So.
Good. Then it's working. That's the whole point of this.
Good.
Did you ever have like a funny, like listening to the Red podcast story or anything like that?
My funny story is actually kind of how I got the Clippy moniker.
Yeah.
For the Facebook group,
if anyone has ever used Microsoft Office circa 2000 to 2006?
Might have been a little
maybe?
earlier because I remember, it's like early 2000s.
Yeah. There was a paperclip cartoon, and if you did something wrong, not wrong, but if they had a helpful tip, they would tap on the monitor and be like, dink, dink, over here.
It seems you're having trouble with blah, blah, blah. Did you realize
you spelled this wrong?
It was very condescending and horrible and smug.
Excuse me. Actually.
So essentially, you have mentioned that I did fencing. I did a lot of stage combat throughout high school and college because I was in drama. I got really, really into fencing and dueling. Okay. And not because I want to see all the violence and everything, but it was because I was genuinely like, why did people do this? And I just kind of fell down this rabbit hole of, for ages and ages, still get sucked in all the time of like, why do people duel? Why did they do this? What was the culture? All of that. So when they read Sarah McLean's 9 Rules to Break when romancing a rake, and they talked about dueling and they had questions, I kind of moment walking the dog like, it's me. I'm the listener. I'm the one who knows about this. I'm the only one. My time to shine. And I was like, I realized like I might be the only listener who has like a passion for this and really knows. And then I spent like 3 days agonizing over writing an email. Because all the self-doubt and the like, my absolute fears of I don't want to sound like a condescending ass. I don't want to sound like a Clippy being like, it seems that you have no idea what you're talking about.
Remember when you said dueling? Did you actually mean?
Yeah. And so, but I finally was like, you know what? They can ignore me if I write an email. They don't have to read it. I'll put it there. If they were genuinely asking a question and they really wanted to know, I'll give them some answers. And then I got just the sweetest email back from Melody of like, oh yeah, we read your email. That's really cool. Do you want us to like read it out loud on our anniversary episode? And I was like, okay.
Sure, fine.
They liked it. Okay. That's new. I was like absolutely convinced no one was going to be interested or care about that kind of thing, but apparently people do.
People love facts, especially if they don't have to do the work to find the facts. You know what I mean? I love finding out facts, really especially if I don't have to find them myself. I feel like there's a lot of things that could be the answer to this question, but like, what are you the most passionate about right now?
Okay, and there's a million things I could talk about. Dogs, cats.
I want to talk about dogs.
Plants. Plants. But the thing that I am very passionate about and that I don't often get to talk about because it's very hard to find other people who will admit to it. But I might as well because it's the cult.
This is a safe space.
Yeah.
No, it is. It will be. It always will be.
Fan fiction, fandom, and like the intersectionality of that, of like all of these spaces on the internet. And for those who have absolutely no idea,
that's me.
Write a ton of
this
fanfic.
Person that you're talking to. I did not know fan fiction existed before the cult. For reals.
Yeah, I write so much. That is one of the things that I love to do. And because in particular, I write a lot of fic for a very niche pairing. Very niche. Are you going to tell
me what it is? Or is it a secret?
Oh, God.
You don't have to.
The thing is that I know that there are people in the cult who play the video game that these characters are in. And it's a very divisive ship.
Okay. I can leave it at that.
You know what? Fuck
Let's
it.
do it.
I'm going to say
Let's do it.
Okay, so I write a lot of fic for the Dragon Age franchise. Okay. So video games, books, comic books, all that. There's probably like an animated cartoon somewhere in there. But in particular, I like writing for the video game Dragon Age 2. And I like writing Fenris Anders.
Which this is your character that you said every male hero's voice sounds like this person, right? Yes.
Yeah. Every male hero sounds like Fenris because Gideon Emery has an amazing voice.
Right. I'm going to look it up after this because I feel like I need to know.
Oh, good. Yeah. It's, I remember describing it kind of as like, it's a little gravelly. Perfect. It's very dark. A little aristocratic.
Okay. Yeah, like snobby maybe?
A little bit. And it's so interesting when it comes to the character of Fenris, who he was a slave. He's part of a minority race. He's an elf. He was enslaved. Horrible things happened to him. And he's illiterate. But he comes off as this very aristocratic, incredible diplomat who has all kinds of amazing skills. And he's one of my favorite characters because there's such a dichotomy where he is very elegant. He is full of rage and resentment and justified for being angry about what happened to him. But at the same time, he has like this really dry sense of humor and sarcasm. And he's just kind of, people are always like, oh, he's always brooding and dark. But he actually laughs a lot. And he's a very interesting character that you dig really deep and you're just like, wow, there's just more and more things to think about with Fenris.
Do you ever like go, if only you were a real human being?
Maybe
I mean, kind of nice that he's not because...
it's the trauma that a real person would have gone through.
Well, that's true.
Horrifying. But yeah, and then there's Anders, who's another horribly traumatized character. Everybody in Dragon Age 2 is traumatized.
Yeah.
You're welcome. But he is essentially like the other side of the Fenris coin, where bad things happen to him and all of that. He's full of rage and resentment, and you understand why. He's very sarcastic and humorous and kind of likes to shove off things by just being like, ha ha ha, fuck you, constantly. And making jokes, being a bit of a dick. And
so where Fenris is a little bit more dry, a little bit more sneaky with his humor, Anders is a
little
more
clown, like upfront
kind of style a little bit.
Yeah, that's sort of like the dynamic. And the thing is, in the canon, they hate each other. And they never come to like a resolution.
In real life, whenever those strong feelings are there, there's just something waiting underneath, you know?
Yeah. And I always feel like these are two characters who, if they stopped for a moment and actually listened to each other and listened past like the sharp words and like the being dicks, because Anders is always picking fights with Fenris, and Fenris is like, yeah, whatever. And like very sarcastic and just kind of like brushes him off in a very aristocratic, like, yeah, whatever. F you too. But if they just stopped and they listened to each other, they could have been an amazing couple.
Absolutely.
And that is the ship that I ship.
Amazing.
Because these are two characters who are so much two sides of the same coin, where if they just listened, they could have had something.
I have DNF'd so
you
many
had
romances from that same reason. If you just had one conversation, this would have been fixed or whatever. Things like that.
Yeah. So that's like the pairing that I write so much fanfic for. And what's weird is that even though it's a very divisive ship and people can be really, really nasty online, I have made a lot of friends, like all around the world, because we all think that these two characters should bang it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I have found that like I hardly ever have like an original idea. You know what I mean? Where if I'm feeling this way, then somebody else also feels this way. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
There's like whatever the feeling is. You know what I mean? It's like other people are doing that same thing, and I'm not alone in whatever feeling that is, whether it's this or something super serious or something funny or whatever. If anybody who thinks that like a joke is inappropriate, there's like 16 other people out there that are like, yeah, but it's funny though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that is the one that I do, and I'm sure that people will just be like, anyone who's played Dragon Age 2 is just gonna be like, what are you on? Like, are you crazy? And the answer is probably yes.
Absolutely. But so are other people. Yeah.
But I have written a lot of fanfic.
So Blair talked to me a little bit about like, because there was literally, I think, a moment in our interview where I was like, but fanfic, what is it? And how is it? And where do you do it? And so are you on like a forum, or are you writing this like in a document and then publishing it somewhere? Or not that you need to share where it's being published. I'm just saying, like, how does it get done?
I won't share my screen name. That's what I'll do. But the community that I talk with, it's both on Tumblr and on Discord. Or essentially, I saw all these people met
virtual.
as you meet people on the internet.
We've met
as you
in
do
quotations.
Virtual meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But like pretty much all these people were on Tumblr. You get on a private Discord with all these people, make like a Discord group, and that's where you talk about these things. And then I'll write up my whatever I'm doing on Google Docs, and I'll publish it on Archive of Our Own. Hugo Award winning Archive of Our Own.
These are words that I don't know what they mean, but I support it. Is it like what's the other one? Yes.
Wattpad.
Is that similar?
Yeah. It's similar. Archive of Our Own is a gigantic fan fiction archive that kind of like on the internet, that kind of like when other archives go down, when other places like are like, okay, we're banning all of this, Archive of Our Own will come in and kind of give those stories a home. Nice. And there's all kinds of stuff, and pretty much it won a Hugo Award for being this amazing multimedia place where people can contribute to fandom through fan fiction and sort of keep that alive, because there are people in the world, the Anne Reiszes of the world, who get very, very mad when you dare to write about Lestat and go sue Happy. And Archive of Our Own has lawyers and stuff. They do fundraising. So that way it's like, you can't do that because this is public use. Yeah. They're not making money.
It's just
off
free
of
stuff.
it.
But that's how franchises and fans are created, when they're allowed to, you know what I mean? When they build this franchise into something, they can't wait to see what the next part of the story happens in a book or a comic book or a movie. They can't wait for that next segment to be released because it may build something of their own story in it. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's only beneficial to franchises for places like this to exist.
I mean, some people like to look down their noses at fanfic writers. It's true, because they're just like, oh, you're just working off of other people's work, which let's rewind.
Yeah,
everyone is working off of other people's work.
Talked about it. There's no original thoughts. You know what I mean?
As Newton famously said, I stand upon the shoulders of giants.
Exactly.
And you can't say like, all of my thoughts were created in a bubble. My thought is pure and original. I mean, my God, I just rambled about how Wheel of Time is not really Tolkien-esque, but I was able to go through archetypes and say these characters
because it's how you
characters.
relate your story, like how you use things that people know about to describe characters to people so that they can relate to them, right?
Yeah, it's communication is key, and sometimes you use examples and you're like, hey, what about this? What about this? Like, you try to give someone an idea of what something is. And I mean, this also, I like to say, like, fanfic is a really great way to explore writing. And like, you're like, okay, I have a framework, like who these characters are, and I can delve in deep and like really start working on things and become a better writer by practicing this way. I think fan fiction is good. I think people should read more. I think people should write more. You can find something for anything. And if you can't find it, you can write it. Because someone wants to read it.
What was your first fanfic that you wrote? If you don't mind sharing.
Oh gosh. I mean, if we're going to be really technical, it was never published because I was 10.
I don't care.
Yeah. It's probably in a notebook somewhere, buried in a closet or the attic or something like that. But I started writing a story, a Harry Potter story, in which, you have your original OC, do not steal. And just essentially, I was like, I want to be that kid who goes to Hogwarts. I just want it so bad. And that was like the first one. I barely remember it, but I know that was the very first. So
it was like an Ann C going to Hogwarts story. Oh my gosh!
Yes,
perfect. I was not a kid that like was convinced I was going to get my Hogwarts letter, but I was definitely that kid that was like, you just have to believe, and then wizards will show themselves to you. Because you're like, I'm not a normal muggle. I'm a cool muggle. Like that kind of you know what I mean?
Yes, I'm the cool one.
Anne, what are your current lady loves?
All right. So my big current lady love is watching like really relaxing YouTube videos. And the one in particular that I want to shout out is June's Kitchen. It's a cooking kind of show. It's this Japanese man who's pretty handsome, June. He has a wife. His wife is gorgeous and so sweet. They're really funny. And they have their own separate channel, too. It's Rachel and June. And they have 3 adorable cats.
I'm sold.
And June cooks food. And the cats watch. And it's just peaceful and lovely, and everything that is, if it makes you feel like the world can't be a terrible place because there's this charming man who cooks while his cat watches, and he takes his cats to the grocery store.
I'm clicking in the background because my husband watches a Japanese furniture making channel. And he has a small dog that is constantly in his furniture shop with him. Oops, hold on, sound's playing. And it's called Ishitani, and I think you would like it. It is very soothing. He will make a complete piece of furniture in the whole episode, and he uses all of his grandfather's old tools.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
I'll send you a link to it. So it's called Ishitani, and he will make things like in pretty much like mid-century style, but usually it's all old school Japanese techniques, and it's amazing. And I think, I cannot wait to watch June's Kitchen because I love cooking videos, and you add a cat in there, and I'm not sure you could have picked a more perfect show for me. Anne, are you ready for the lightning round? Are you sure?
I'm ready.
I'm going to mix up the order of the questions.
Okay.
This one wasn't on there. Is that okay?
Oh, boy.
Okay. What advice would you give to your younger self?
Don't be afraid to be wrong.
Oh, that is great advice.
Because pretty much I would be so paralyzed in fear of being wrong that I would never talk. And that was like part of the shyness where I was like, everyone knows that I'm the smart one. I have to say something smart and witty and clever and right and correct. And the thing is that was so isolating. Yeah. So it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to say, I didn't know that. And it's absolutely okay to like speak up and like ask a question. Because sometimes you'll never know what will happen. And sometimes something very
I think that's good
happen.
Advice for my 33-year-old self.
Very good. I'm glad that I could help.
Are you an Aaron or a Melody?
I think I'm more of an Aaron.
What do you think? Why do you think so?
Though, I can be very bubbly, like Melody, and very passionate about things. Sort of like I will speak loud and proud about it, but I know that I am very practical. Where like Aaron, where I'm like, okay, here's my structure, here's my argument, here's my defense of everything I love, and I have it all prepared in case you need me to pull out that card. It's like, I pulled out my trap card.
But I would also be really sad if I like prepared myself for this whole trap and then it didn't come. And then you'd be like, excuse me, but I just need to tell you all these reasons why I think this way.
It's like, excuse me, have you heard the good word? And well, yes, listener, that was a Yu-Gi-Oh reference.
Oh man, there have been a lot of references that are just first-time references for me today, and I am so excited to just Google them after this interview. It's going to be really. I'm going to really just go down. I'm going to go down a rabbit hole.
What have I done? It's like, oh God, you're going to learn. You're going to learn to like anime.
Oh, I think I already knew that. Didn't I know that already?
Yes. Probably. I did talk about Yuri on Ice.
Yeah, I already knew this.
Okay.
It wasn't, even if it was a surprise, it'd still be great. What is your favorite smell?
Okay. I love, it's like really particular. Yeah. Coffee beans, but like roasted with pinion nuts.
What? Okay.
Like
I was like, can you talk about what a pinion nut is?
It's a pine nut that is particularly in like the southwest region of the United States.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I almost was like, which is where you live. But then I was like, wait, does she want people to know where she lives?
They kind of vaguely
the desert.
I live in a desert, so yeah. But it's roasted in particular with that, and smelling that coffee is just so.
I feel like I need like
like
roasting coffee and then just coffee smells in general are one of my favorite smells too. I would love it.
A good
Cinnamon
smell.
candles is one of my favorite smells of all time.
Oh, that's a good smell.
It's like instantly takes you to a place, right? That is a place.
Yeah,
it's not always like Christmas for me either. It's like just like a happiness place. Cinnamon candles. Yeah.
Yeah, certain smells just put you in a place, in a time.
And if you were going to bing boom bong something, what would it be?
All right. Bing bong boom bong.
Bird click.
Bird click. Chirp chirp. Understand that history is a vast, inaccurate story, and it's very, very, very hard to say that something is a fact. Even dates can be wrong.
Wait, we got to make this more concise. How does Bing Boom Bong dates could be wrong with Anne?
Yes, that'll
Bing
work.
Boom Bong
That'll
history is vague.
Yes. Go have an existential crisis.
Facts are not facts. It's perfect.
Nothing is true.
Down is up.
Welcome to existentialism in history.
Do you have a favorite trope?
Oh boy, do I. I even have a little enamel pen that has my favorite trope on it. Mutual pining.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's so good. I could even like track down the moment where I was like, yep, I love this. And it wasn't in a romance book. It was in a video game. It was, it was Final Fantasy II. And it's so weird because it's like not even really a romance, but it's with this character that you run into, and he dies tragically, and he's just like, pretty much like, tell my fiance that I was thinking of her, and then he's like, no, wait, she probably doesn't want to hear that, and then he dies. Yeah, and then she, like, you see his fiance, and she's like, what happened? And it's like, yeah, he died honorably. Here's the information he died to give everybody. And she's like, did he say anything else? And you lie.
No.
You tell her no. And she's like, oh, I see. And just that little scene is like, you get it, where they were both in love with each other, but they never said it. And they pretty much what they said, like, because what the guy says is just like, I don't want to burden her with the thoughts of a dying man.
That's really tragic.
And yeah, it's so tragic.
Will you write me a fanfic where he doesn't die and then they get together and then it's all happy endings?
I could do it. I could try. No one likes Final Fantasy 2, but I could do it.
And that's why I only read romance.
Scott lives. Ta-da!
There it worked out. They get married and are in love with each other at the end. What is your favorite carb?
So my favorite carb, pão de queijo, which is cheese bread. It's a Brazilian
We've talked
dish.
about this.
My mom makes it. Yes. And it is, she has given me the recipe.
What
she has
kind of
explained
cheese?
it a dozen times. My mom uses
Okay.
Parmesan. Other people use cheddar. It varies, but my mom uses Parmesan. It's tapioca starch, eggs, milk, all the good things. You mix it together. The dough's supposed to be kind of sticky.
Like a brioche.
Then you bake it. Yeah, you bake it into little balls that are golden brown, and the ideal texture for me, other people might like it differently, crunchy on the outside, chewy on the inside. Eat it hot and drink a beer.
Sounds like a great night. Carbs.
Carbs.
Okay, I have one more interesting question. If you were
Okay.
going to dispense one condiment out of your belly button, what would it be?
I had a lot of deep
we talked
thoughts
about it earlier.
this.
It's a
Yes.
tricky one.
It's a very tricky one. So there's a lot of options, very good options. But in the end, I decided on balsamic vinegar.
All right. Give me your thoughts. There's
And
thoughts that went into it. I want to hear them.
this was the key part, because I like balsamic vinegar. I like to mix it with olive oil to, like, as a dressing for salads. I use it for cooking all the time. But the key part was that if I could spray it out of my belly button, I could have the greatest gory scenes. And if you can't be super dramatic and like act like you're in a Kurosawa film and you've been stabbed and you're spraying things everywhere, then what's
exactly.
the
If you're
point?
going to dispense something, so I'm going to dispense ketchup. So I could do that.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I just figured that, like, the really dark color of balsamic vinegar, that blackish brown color, would be really, really, like,
dramatic,
kind of creepy and dramatic. It really show up well against anything. And so it would just, like, you have this beautiful fountain of balsamic vinegar, and you could have, like, these dramatic death scenes.
Absolutely.
I think
that's great logic. I like that food was also involved. Maybe not the number one thought process, but also there somewhere.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
But it was purely the drama of being able to pretend I was stabbed and then have a Kurosawa fountain of balsamic vinegar spray everywhere.
Amazing. I
It's
love
beautiful.
it. I can't believe it's over. It was so fun.
I had a really good time, and it definitely felt a little weird to talk about how much fanfic that I write. But also, I'm very interested to read what other people think.
Yeah.
So
maybe everybody writes
listeners,
fanfic.
we should talk.
Maybe I'm the only one that doesn't know
we
what
should all
fanfic
talk.
is.
I could definitely find you stuff.
I could guarantee it. Like, I just didn't, it never even, and I think part of it is because, like, I don't have a writer brain. So, like, I think Blair and I talked about this because Blair started doing fanfic. And and so like in my brain, it was like, hey, you have this ending that you didn't like in a story, or the storyline was not what you wanted. And in my brain, I was like, shucks. And then like other people's brains, it's darn. Like, well, I want to write that my own way. It would be much better if it did this, this, and this. And then like you create it and it totally makes sense. It's just not at all like what my brain did ever. Still does not do it. I just stopped reading books.
I mean, I have definitely started writing fanfic out of sheer pettiness.
Absolutely. Like, hey, this guy fucked this up. I gotta fix it. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, once again, my favorite ship. I felt that the canon material had not done them justice, and I was like, you know what? They're lovers
Justice
now.
for Fenris. Did I say his name right?
Yes.
Yes,
Fenris
I did get it right. Nice.
Yeah. It's the Fenris, like Fenris wolf.
Yes,
and,
that makes sense.
Yeah. The shipper name is Fenders.
Oh,
like Fender Bender
nice.
or Fender Guitars.
Nice. I like that. You guys gotta have a catchy name.
Yeah, if you could come up with a cute name.
Yeah, exactly. It's easier to sell. Well, this was awesome. I'm so glad. I expected to learn a lot, and I did learn a lot, and I can't wait. And that's one of the best things about being friends with you is that I get to learn things all the time. But again, not in a way where I feel like I'm dumb. You never make me feel like I'm dumb, which is amazing. So thank you for that, Ann.
That's really good. I'm glad that you learned things. I had a lot of fun talking about whatever came into my head.
So if you are a listener out there and you want to be interviewed on this podcast, you can contact me. Ann and I contacted through Facebook Messenger. I had her fill out a questionnaire called the Ask a Badass Podcast Anal Prep Box. And that questionnaire came back to me and we scheduled something. And that's really as easy as it is. So anyway, if you're interested, you can send an email to askabadasspod@gmail.com. You can send a message over Facebook Messenger, and then we could have you on the pod. Thank you so much, Ann. Yay. It was so fun. All right. Well, you guys, keep being a badass.
And love yourself.
As much as you love heaving bosoms.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, you. Yes, listener, you. Are you loving the show? If so, please leave a rating and review in your podcast app. The 90 seconds you take to say something nice not only helps new people find the show, but it makes me super smile over at HBHQ. Also, I've had a few people ask, and the answer is yes. We are still doing the 5-star bribe. If you leave us a review with 5 stars, then we'll do whatever book you want. We're real deep into the list, though, so it might be a while. Lilas! Okay, back to the show.